Question 7. Two spinners, P and Q, are spun and the sum is noted. Sometimes it can be the product. Copy and complete this distribution table. Okay, well let's have a look at what happens if we spin two spinners. I think a two-way table is probably the easiest way to see what's happening here. We have a 1, 2, 3 on one spinner, and we have a 4 and a 5 on the other. So the totals amount to, you can get a 5, 6, or a 7, and a 6, a 7, or an 8. So here's my 5. This one here, let's just check. How do we get a 5? A 4 by a 1, so a quarter by a half, a quarter by a half is the 1/8 that's given in the box below. How do we get a 6? Well, we can see there's two ways of getting a 6. So it's either a 2 and a 4, so a quarter by a half again, which is an 8. And we also have a 1 and a 5, which is also a quarter by a half. So times 2 is 2 8s for a 7. We have the 3 and the 4, which is a half by a half, which is a quarter. And we also have this one here, which is a 2 and a 5, which is a quarter by a half, which is an 8. And a quarter is 2 8s. So this probability here is 3 8s, 3. And then we have an 8. So this we have a 3, a 2, and a 1 so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this one has to be 2/8. Just double check. So we have a 3 and a 5. We have a 3 and a 5, which is a half by a half, which is a quarter, which is 2 8s that we said we had left. So the value of this game, well, they're playing, let's work out the value first before we look at the well, we have to look at the sum. Daniel gives Daria €1 if the sum is 5 or 6, and if the sum is 7 or 8, Daria gives Daniel N cent, and it's a fair game. So we're actually working out the value to make this a fair game. So let's look at the expected value first. 5 times 1/8, 6 times 2/8, plus 7 times 3/8, plus 8 times 2/8. That's going to give us 5 all/8, plus 12, plus 21, plus 16. That's going to give 54/8, which is 6.75. And for it to be a fair game, the return on 5 or 6, which is 1 times whatever the probability of that is, 5 and 6 is 1/8 and 2/8. So that's 3/8. So the return on 3/8 is 1. So that has to be, if we add the other one or we take the other one away, the two of them have to give a 0, the difference between them. So if we take away the other one, which is 5/8 times the return that needs to make this give us a 0, is going to give me 3/8 minus 5n/8 equal to 0. So we can just bring the 5n across and say 5n is equal to 3, or n is equal to 3/5. So n in this case is 0.6, and we're asked for it in cents. Just be careful. So that's 0.6 of €1. So n is equal to 60 cents. And that's all for question 7. So we look at question 8 now. Move across. Spinners P and Q are spun and products. is noted. Calculate the expected value. So just put in your columns here. We can get a 1, a 2, and a 3. Or we can get a 4 and a 5 on the other one. So the product can be 4 1s. Just change color. 4 1s are 4, 4 2s are 8, and 4 3s are 12. 5 1s, we've got our 5 times tables here. 5, 10, and 15. So if we look at the expected value, let's look at 4, or the probability of happening 4. It has to be the 1 by the 4, so you have a half by a half, which is a quarter, for 5 to happen. And we can say then we'll do it here, 4 times a quarter is equal to 1. For 5 to happen, it's 5 by a 1, so it's a quarter by a quarter. So for 5 to happen, it's a quarter, multiply it by the 5 to get 5 over 4 here. For the next lowest number, 8 to happen, it has to be a 2 by a 4, a quarter by a half, which is equal to an 8. And we're multiplying that by 8 also to get 1. For a 10 to happen, it's a 2 by a 5, so it's a quarter by a half, which is an 8. And we're multiplying that by 10 to get 10 over 8. And then for a 12 to happen, it's a 3 by a 4, which is a quarter by a half, which is equal to an 8, times 12 is 12 over 8. And for a 15 to happen, it's 5 by a 3, which is a quarter by a half, which is also an 8, times 15, 15 over 8. So if we add all these together, we need them all over 8. We've got 8 over 8, 8, 10 over 8, 8 over 8, 10 over 8, 8, 10, 10, 8, 12, and 15, which is 27. So we've got 36 and 27, which is 63 over 8, which is 1/8 short of 8. So that's going to give us 7.875 for the expected value of this game, or this product. Question 9. In a game, a contestant is given the chance to choose one of 8 plain white envelopes. So the probabilities here are 1 over 8. It's a tenner to play. 4 the envelopes are empty. Okay, well they're all zeros, so we can skip that bit. And you can see here, we're going to have a 5, a 10, a 20, and a 50. So we're going to have 1 over 8 times 5 plus 1 over 8 times 10, and so on. So it's 1 over 8 times 5 plus 10 plus 20 plus 50, which is 35 and 50, 85 over 8, which is 10 and 5/8, 10.625. So you're going to win 0.625 euros, or 62.5 cents every time you play this game. Or if you play this game in the long run, your average of winnings will be 62.5 cents.